Yeah, you can go back and listen to those podcasts like I did because I didn't catch the full show yesterday. So I went back and listened to the Eric Francis yesterday and the Patrick Mayo, the golf expert that Maz had on. That guy was good. Dialed. Cost me money, though. Don Hewitt, the professor, is joining us because as soon as I listened to it, then I had to go back on the app and go, well, I should play on that. I should sprinkle a little bit on that guy. What if he wins now? I'm going to kick myself. It's a slippery slope, Don.
I never, ever listen to myself after I've done any sort of broadcast. And you know why? I don't want to know how bad I was.
Yeah.
That's one reason.
I'm half and half. I get what you're saying. For sure. Would you be watching the Masters today? Are you much of a golf guy?
I just was. That's why you asked me, do you want to come down to the studio or do it at home? Answer, at home, because I'm watching the Masters. That's what I was doing.
It's I'm wearing a golf shirt today. I got to go green golf shirt, and plus it's 15 or 16 degrees out. There are so many, but then with Sharky, with just how look behind the curtain, you know this, Don, and these guys know this, but when Sharky says, hey, I am down and out. So then I'm preparing for a show with Sharky. So 6:45, now I'm like, all right, now we got a solo 3 hours to broadcast. I didn't watch much until I got here about an hour ago. But I'm telling you, that first round, small little dabble on Justin Rose to be the first round leader. I got my fingers crossed here, Don. There's a lot of people taking the day off and watching the Masters. It's a thing that people do, get vasectomies. The most popular time to get one, they say, is Masters Week. Makes sense.
I didn't know. It's a medical fact, is it?
Some people will say March Madness. I agree with the vasectomy one. Riders, as we get going here, there is so much excitement. We talked a little over about a month ago. You were at the Brandt Center with us, and we were talking about things. But yesterday, a lot of people are talking about Justin Dunk, and we had it on SportsCage.com, and I think we have a clip that we can play as well, is Trevor Harris talking about how he played with a couple of small tears in his knee. And then the fact that he didn't get surgery. He's getting the ACL and MCL. He's getting the PRP shots in there. You've been around the game a long time. You've covered a long time. I think little tears and stuff like that, Don, are pretty commonplace. Do you make a lot about this?
Well, I will say this. The less Trevor Harris runs, the less chance of injury. So it's probably a good thing. Because, he made that run a couple of years ago against Calgary. It ended up costing him the season. And I'm just happy to have him in the pocket or semi-rolls and not running that often if possible. So I don't think that's much of a factor, really, in the way that he has to play at his age. He knows how to read defenses. He knows how to get rid of the football very quickly. That's his forte. And so I don't think it's that relevant to how he performed. He performed well. He had a good season.
I was trying to think, who do you remember in the CFL? Obviously, in the NFL, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning kind of set the mold for getting the ball away so quickly. Who do you remember in the CFL that ditched the rock quick?
Definitely Danny McManus. Yeah, head of U.S. scouting for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. But in his heyday, particularly with Hamilton, where he really shone, it was basically a two-step drop pass. He had no mobility. I mean, Trevor Harris is a track star compared to Danny McManus. But McManus, he knew how to read defenses. He got rid of the ball probably faster than anybody I've ever seen play in the CFL.
Yeah, kind of going back to that, you're right. He wasn't going anywhere. Like his boots might as well have been cemented in that pocket. You have to be excited, thrilled to see what Jeremy O'Day has done, especially with that offensive line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, huge signings, and Philip Gagnon and Sean McEwen. And I think he's done it again. He didn't have to make as many changes as he did, the previous offseason. But he's done it again in having an absolutely rock solid offseason. And, we were texting earlier about what do they need to top up. And I would say it's basically two positions, the boundary corner and the field halfback. Those are the two areas that they have to shore up. Of course, they let, Williams and Henderson go, really let them go. They weren't that interested in keeping them. So we have to find out if DeMarcus Fields can play at the halfback position. And of course, they're heavily recruiting defensive backs. If you take a look at the number of DBs they've recruited, it's quite a few. So it's those two positions, I think, Barney, that are the key ones to fill. The team looks rock solid otherwise, very good. And I honestly would say if they can fill those two particular positions, the one halfback spot and the one corner spot, they've got Roland Milligan and DeMarcus Sales already, two of the best DBs in the league. They can fill those two vacant spots. I think are sort of vacant at the moment. I think this team, depending on injuries, obviously, that can affect any club. But I think this team could go into training camp if they can find those two positions. They can actually be the best team in the West.
Logan, extending Logan Ferland, right? Just that move, and I don't know, we talked about it a lot on here, just the foresight to get that done, because if he does go to market, or if it does go a year, yeah. I think, there's a lot of criticism that's always been thrown that way, and rightly so, right? They haven't won in a long time, but a move like that, I think, goes so unnoticed for a lot of people.
All you have to do is take a look at Logan Ferland in a T-shirt, and you realize nobody is getting by this dude. Absolutely nobody. I mean, he's a tremendous offensive lineman, at the very best, top offensive lineman in the CFL from Melfort, Saskatchewan, and it was a great extension by Jeremy O'Day. And we don't know what's going to even happen with Kyle Hergel, who the Riders picked third in last year's CFL draft. He got a 2-year deal in New Orleans after the NFL draft. He was released, waived in December, I believe, Barney. But he's still with New Orleans as far as I understand. But if he sort of looks like he might be on the edge eventually with New Orleans. I don't know what they're going to do in this upcoming NFL draft. But if Kyle Hergel ends up in Saskatchewan, then for sure, absolutely, they can start 3 Canadians. And I hope they can, because I was at a senior hockey game, Barney. That's right. I was at a senior hockey game, the Lumsden Monarchs, and I was talking to Mitch Picton.
Yeah.
Had some buddy playing for Raymore in Lumsden. And Mitch said, you wouldn't believe how good CJ Avery is every day, every practice. Last year he was a DA at that will linebacker spot. I think they want him to be an every down linebacker. I mean, if you remember last year, he absolutely pancaked Brady Oliveira. How many guys can pancake Brady Oliveira? And I think if they can play 3 Canadian offensive linemen, they can allow CJ Avery to be an every down will linebacker. So, who knows what's going to happen. But a great signing. Logan Ferland is a rider. He's like a Roger Aldag. He's like a Bob Poley, Barney, really.
Yeah. I love it. Makes a guy want to have an OV and a stubby bottle. It's Don Hewitt, the professor, with us. What did you think about? I wanted to know what you thought about the salary cap and BC going over this year. It didn't work out for him. I think we all thought that it was going to be over. What was your thought on that? You make much about that?
Well, I mean, they've stated repeatedly in the last few months that they're not doing it again. And we'll see what the new commissioner thinks about things like that. But they have agreements with the CFLPA, and they paid a heavy price. And the beneficiary was the Calgary Stampeders. BC get an extra pick or so from the BC Lions because they were the worst team in the league. But the owner decided to pay a heavy price. He paid a heavy financial fine on top of the draft pick, so he paid for it. And I think it's more of a one-off, so it doesn't really bother me at all. I wish the Riders got the extra pick, but they didn't. But yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal that he did that, because I don't think you're going to see it in any sort of commonplace way in the CFL happening.
Yeah, the Calgary thing, it's like they just happened to be standing outside the confectionery when the guy walked out with his big lotto win. It's like, here, have a little bit.
I think so, yeah.
Hey, shifting to hockey, right? Regina Pats are in the mixer here for the first overall pick. I don't know. You talked that you're now dabbling in the senior hockey front. Have you watched Maddox Schultz skate and play hockey?
I've just seen him. I've seen him streamed, but he's a type of a player that I'll throw this at you, Bart. We're going to ask you a question. I'll pretend I'm the host and you're the guest. Ooh. So the pressure on. So the Pats have a 23.8% chance to get him at 6 o'clock. They got 5 balls out of 21 and ping pong balls in the draw. So the odds are he's not coming to Regina, but you never know. But I was thinking, throughout the course of Maddox Schultz's WHL career, and we don't know if it'll be like Connor Bedard, that's sensational, but it'll be a very strong WHL career for sure, to say the least. Would this ping pong drop mean $1 million to Pat owner Sean Semple? What do you think over the course of his Maddox's career?
Absolutely. I think Don, it'll mean $1 million to Edmonton, to Kelowna, to any team. So the way I was actually talking with Chad Reach last night, played in the Western Hockey League long time, and we were just going through, and the one thing that he was really stuck on and driving home, which is true, is the amount of marketing possibilities when you have a player like this. And it gets you thinking, okay, maybe Edmonton, I personally think Edmonton will really put the screws to Regina if they get it and say, okay, we want prospect that's played, we want that prospect that's played, and then the Pats have a bunch of capital.
Great question.
I wonder, though, that if they go, nah, we got a great facility, we got a world-class facility, this kid possibly could, put 10,000 people in the stadium when he's 16, 17 years old, which isn't a stretch because we saw it with Bedard. Here's my take, and Bedard was an unbelievable talent. I've watched Maddox play with my own eyeballs last year and this year. I remember, Don, I remember him in initiation or novice because my son's a year younger. And I remember seeing him out there, and we're talking, 5, 6 year olds. And I was like, well, that can't be. He's not, there's no way he's 5 or 6 years old. He skated like he was in AAA midget at that age. Like, and I'm not even lying. I'm not, like, it's not exaggerating. I mean, so to answer your question, I think that there is so much money at play for any team that gets them. The only thing that I'm really curious is because Kelowna hosts next year. So let's put ourselves in Kelowna's shoes. You're hosting the Memorial Cup next year. Now, Maddox can play 34 games with you. Once his AAA season's done, he can come up. As good as he is, I don't know how much of a factor he would be at 15 in the Western Hockey League playoffs and the Memorial Cup. So Kelowna, what do they do with it? Like, that's a king's ransom.
They got 4 balls. Well, that's a very interesting question. I mean, what Maddox Schultz could do. I mean, towards the end of the Pat's season, everybody I know is talking about Pat's season, not Pat's, because the Pat's rebuilding a young team. That goes to show you, that proves what you're saying is right, Marnie. But I'm going to flip it. Ask you another question. What the heck are they going to do with Kelowna hosting the Memorial Cup in a year's time? And they were awful this season. I know they had Ginla injured. Is that not a big concern for the Western Hockey League, how good Kelowna is going to be a year from now?
So I think because they traded, Andrew Cristall, they traded Caden Price, they needed the Hamiltons. I was going to go back. The Hamiltons are really lucky, like, to get to Memorial Cup again. So if they win it, it wouldn't be like out of the ordinary if they pull this off. But they have some capital there, Don. So here, I'll throw this to you. Probably the best 19-year-old forward, or one of, that the WHL will have next year is Lakovic from the Moose Jaw Warriors.
Right.
Now.
Absolutely.
What else does Moose Jaw have to possibly give Kelowna to where Maddox Schultz plays 30 minutes down the road for Jason Ripplinger?
Wow, what a great question, or great even thought. And, the Moose Jaw Warriors, I mean, we go back in time when they lost a 3-way draw along with Prince George, allowing Bedard to come to the Pats. I mean, Paddock won a 3-way coin flip, basically, Prince George and Moose Jaw. So Moose Jaw could have had Connor Bedard just as easily as Regina. So they wouldn't that be interesting if we lost Bedard, but we got Schultz. But that's a great thing to think about, because you'd have piles of people, and I think this would be true. I think you'd have piles of people driving from Regina to Warrior home games if he ended up a Warrior. Wouldn't you think?
I'll go even one further to give you a real noodle scratcher. Maddox's mom is from Central Butte, the whole family.
Interesting geography. Well, man, I see Maddox's parents, who, I don't really know them. I see them at the rink all the time when I'm heading in there. And, of course, they're figure skating teachers. Yeah. And they are, no wonder Maddox Schultz was a good skater at 5, because I watched them teaching their figure skating students. They are good teachers. These kids that they teach are really good. I see them when I walk by.
Yeah, my daughter is lucky enough once a week to basically, or every other week, have a power skating with Dave Schultz. Loves him. He's so good with the kids. He knows how to joke and to teach. They're great. Kate, I know you want to stick around? We got the voice of the Montreal Canadiens, Victor Finlay, coming up.
I definitely want to stick around.
Are you a Habs guy?
Yes, I am.
Oh,
and Victor does a great job. Victor does, some TSN regional games sometimes. He's very good.
He is. Great guy. Okay, let's go to break. The professor's going to stick with me. It's the Sports Cage. We're streaming at sportscage.com, always on the mighty 620 CKRM.